Flee the Facility is a game I'm sure everyone watching this video has played. You click on this video to learn how to get better, so let me be Teacher Neezy, who's going to help you get good. This video will be different from every other tutorial you've seen. I promise to go above and beyond just basic tips. These concepts that took me from being just alright at the game to beating people twice or even triple my level consistently. So first, I'm going to talk about playing as the Beast. Playing as the Beast is something most players tend to dislike, and getting good as Beast isn't something that's really on most players' radar. So let me simplify getting good at Beast into 3 separate categories: locating, chasing, and pressure. These 3 concepts combined will take you from just an alright Beast that'll catch 1 person a game to consistently being able to catch 4 people and being considered as a really good Beast. So first, let's start off with locating. Locating revolves around a few central ideas. One, obviously, is locating where the survivors are. This can be complicated depending on the players you go against and how many. Pay attention and find out what your PC spawns are. There's no reason to go halfway across the map to look at one computer when the other half of the map has every single computer. Stay in hot zones where you know survivors are. Avoid going into rooms that don't even have a PC in them. If a room doesn't have a PC in it or isn't a direct escape route to a PC, literally never check it. Localize yourself and survivors, guaranteed, will fall into your hands. As more and more PCs start to get finished, the circle of activity will decrease around the map. So a lot of Beasts will lose 2 PCs and then start giving up because they're all discouraged. But in reality, the circle gets smaller, which means every PC gets exceedingly harder to finish. If a survivor keeps circling back to a PC, you can assume that they're likely nearby, and this is a good sign to do a rough check of the nearby rooms. So just a short rough summary: if you pay attention to your PC spawns, localize yourself, and focus on computers that are grouped up together rather than one that's on its own, I promise your Beast games will get a hell of a lot easier. Wait, before you continue your lesson, let me tell you to subscribe because I'm a niche growing YouTuber and I'd love for YouTube to become my future job. Now, enjoy the rest of your video. The next section I like to talk about is keeping pressure. A lot of survivors, like I listed before, will often make the mistake of going back to the same computers because they know it has good progress. Lingering in those areas can be extremely effective, but beware that a good survivor will counter this by not attaching themselves to a PC just because it's low. Never overcommit to camping a computer just because you think a survivor is nearby. Always pay attention to how many times you see a survivor near a computer. If you repeatedly, over and over and over, keep seeing the same survivor going back to the same PC, you could probably assume that they're just going to do it again. But if you haven't seen them in a little while, why are you still there? Maybe check back on it in a minute or 2, but there's no reason to stay somewhere if you aren't even sure if nobody's near. Another essential way to keep pressure is with your captures. Be mindful of your circumstances when you capture. If it's down to the last double, it might be easier for you to just quickly capture somebody than go right back to the computers to make sure they're not finished. But if you have more PCs and you know that the survivors are right next to you, don't be afraid to just completely cross the entire map to capture someone. This can be especially important when multiple survivors are hit. Spreading the survivor's attention across 2 separate captures will almost certainly get somebody low, if not already freezing them. Camping captures nowadays is ineffective. It's so easy to just get rushed by every survivor, then they escape. So if you can split their attention with those 2 separate captures, I promise this will greatly increase your win rate. The general idea with keeping pressure is to just overwhelm the survivors and just waste as much time as possible and divide their attention. The final and most important section to being a good beast is chasing people. This will literally make or break your beast gameplay. All of these other lessons don't matter at all if you can't even catch somebody in the first place. A good chase roughly follows this timeline. You find the survivor, you close the distance gap, then you use your perk to finally catch them. I'll go step by step what to do in chase. Right when you see the survivor, try to be as discreet as possible. The closer you get before they notice you, the better. This means hiding around corners, sneaking around other rooms, just in general, being mindful of your heartbeat and your beast light. Once the survivor notices you, your chase actually begins. Your goal as the beast is to close the distance gap as much as possible. A common mistake a lot of beasts make chasing survivors is following them in a straight line. Survivor movement beats beasts 10 to 1. They can go through windows, vents, close doors in your face, and even hide. The best way to close this distance gap is to cut survivors off. Beasts have the advantage of controlling the chase, opposed to following survivors in a straight line. You predict where survivors are going to cut them off. When cutting people off, imagine yourself as a survivor. If you were in the survivor's shoes, where would you go? Then try to use info you have to help you cut survivors off. Which direction are they running? Which direction are they headed? What vents, windows, doors are nearby? Are they running into a corner? Just try to put yourself in the safest location that survivors can go to. This will force them into a spot that's inescapable. Now, assuming you've done all of this, that distance gap will finally be closed and we can move on to the final step, which is using your perk. Runner, Stalker, Seer. This is where you'll hit people. So those are the 3 main concepts to being a good beast, but don't leave yet because I want to talk about some additional info. First, I'd like to go over important but obvious information that everybody knows is something you need to be better at beasts. Learning your maps is important, learning your tube spawns, and especially learning the vents, doors, and windows that are near the tubes, acting as escape routes that survivors can use. This also includes computer spawns. The other important thing that I'd like to talk about is what perk to choose and how to use those perks. First, I'd like to talk about Runner. Runner is one of the most picked perks for a good reason, because it's simple to use and simple to understand. Runner is ultimately a traversal tool, helping you get from point A to point B in the shortest amount of time. A lot of beasts will often be scared of using their Runner and they will save it until they're in chase, but the best way to use Runner is getting between computer spawns or moving captures quickly. This helps you keep pressure on the players and divides their attention. As for when you're actually in chase, is long stretches of areas without resources or just before a resource when you have enough time to hit them. Next, I'd like to talk about Seer because it's very similar to the way Runner is used. When you spot somebody with Seer, you get a speed boost, so everything that applies to Runner speed boost, you want to use it for Seer speed boost. This means using it as a traversal tool, and this also means everything that you do with Runner in chase. The only difference with Seer beam is you want to spam it a lot more because of its obvious locating feature. Finally, I'd like to talk about Stalker. The way you use Stalker is a lot different from the other perks because it's more stealth focused. The best way to use Stalker is at least 1, maybe even 2 rooms before computers that you know survivors are. The idea is to prevent survivors from ever hearing your heartbeat or seeing your beast light, then suddenly seeing it disappear, and then they realize that there's a Stalker nearby. Stalker can also be used in chase when you know there's a lot of windows nearby or you need to make some more difficult double jumps. In this video, you learned how to locate survivors easier, how to keep pressure in your matches, how to chase survivors, and how to effectively use all of your perks. I tried to make this video really simple and digestible for the general Fleet audience, but if it's requested, I'll make a part 2 covering more pro information and pro tips that you can use to really elevate your Beast gameplay. All that being said, thank you for watching till the end.